everyone, and welcome back to #CArthritis event. I am so excited. I'm Cheryl Cohen, by the way. I'm with Arthritis Consumer Experts. We host this program while it's going on throughout the meeting, and I'm super excited. I always seem to snag the superstar, Dr. Tom Appleton, every year in the interview booth. So, Dr. Appleton, thank you for joining me, and I appreciate very much your time.
It's a pleasure to be here, Cheryl, and thank you for everything that you do. The broadcast network and all the outreach that you guys do through ACE, such a huge resource, and I'm always excited to point patients to what you guys have been keeping up to date on your website and beyond.
Super. Thanks so much, Dr. Appleton. Listen, I'm going to give the audience first a quick snapshot of who you are, and then we'll dive right into our conversation. So for the folks out there in viewerland, Dr. Appleton became a rheumatologist in 2016 and started practicing in the Rheumatology Center at St. Joseph's Hospital. You're from Western University. And then started as an assistant professor in the Schulich Department of Physiology and Pharmacology not long after. Your program of research, Dr. Appleton, really focuses on biology research program in early osteoarthritis, the most common type, and it includes multidisciplinary collaborative projects with multiple members of the BJI, which is, I believe, the Bone and Joint Institute. Is that correct?
You
Yeah.
got it.
Acronyms are the killer of us all. And you focus your investigations on the mechanisms of OA disease development and progression to try to identify new therapeutic targets. So you do stuff that's super, super exciting to people like me who are diagnosed with either primary types of osteoarthritis or secondary, such as in my case, as a result of long-standing rheumatoid arthritis. Dr. Appleton, we're so grateful to have you here, and thanks again for spending time with us. First, tell us just a little bit about yourself. Tell the audience, kind of situate yourself, your research program in osteoarthritis, as well as your clinical practice. How does that all work day to day for you?
Yeah, absolutely. And please call me Tom.
Okay, thank you, Tom.
Of course. So I am indeed a rheumatologist, and that means I get to really be blessed with long-term relationships with my patients and our whole arthritis community here. And I also get to work alongside a really interesting and thoughtful group of other rheumatologists in our center and through our institute, researchers in musculoskeletal health and other folks who are thinking about, engineering solutions and, health disciplines that maybe we don't always think about in the clinic. So, I think one of the best things about being in an academic center and being able to work with the arthritis community is just how much knowledge is out there. My research program, as you've highlighted, is focused on osteoarthritis. We do also some rheumatoid and psoriatic arthritis work. The common theme is, not surprisingly, inflammation. And our immune systems are designed to protect us throughout life, and I think everybody understands that from an infection prevention and recovering from infections kind of standpoint. We also understand that the immune system plays a really important role in protecting us from malignancies. But what my research program is really focused on is how our immune system can protect us from degenerative arthritis and how that helps us to heal, or in the case of osteoarthritis, not heal properly. And so that's where we're really trying to discover those mechanisms and how we can develop new treatments that will help people for the really the most common disease that we see in arthritis worldwide.
Yeah, I whenever I think about you and your center and how unique it is, I think of Santa's workshop and how all these people are there banging away and thinking away and collaborating to make the perfect toy, metaphor for solution for osteoarthritis. So it's really exciting, I think, where you in particular are doing your work, the huge biomechanic, bioengineering strength that comes along with your team is always super cool. Um, I know every year at the meeting, there's something called the Great Debate. And you have been one of the lucky ones to be roped in to the Great Debate. And the Great Debate at the annual scientific meeting is part fun, but there is real foundational science that comes forward through the fun debate and engagement between those arguing the pro side and those arguing the con side. And today's, or this, the theme of the great debate at this year's meeting is on EMRs, or electronic medical records. And you're arguing that the con side, that they don't save time for healthcare providers and actually don't improve quality of care. Now, we don't want to give it away because the debate hasn't happened yet, it's upcoming, but we want to know a little bit about how you think about EMR. So without giving it away, we could have the sneak peek, if you will. We'll be the TMZ of arthritis reporting here, Tom. What are you thinking about in terms of electronic medical records? So kind of give us big picture, but you might also want to comment on how electronic medical records serve or don't serve you in your own health region or your own institution.
Well, the great debate is really meant to make us think.
Right.
And I think any good topic that's going to be debated has to have clear pros and clear cons so that, there really is some equipoise or some debate about how we should proceed. And, EMRs have been one of these topics that has been around for now decades that has generated a tremendous amount of controversy. And many people will know that, through my involvement in the arthritis community and healthcare in general, that I am a huge proponent of electronification of medical records and the digital tools, especially digital health solutions that we in fact are developing ourselves through the Ontario Rheumatology Association and other groups. So it's a bit ironic that they asked me to debate the con side that EMRs don't save us time and don't make things better. But I think, to be honest, we have to recognize that what has been rolled out in terms of EMRs, electronic medical records, were not fit for purpose from the outset. They weren't designed to help us in the arthritis community. They weren't specifically designed that way. They're more of a general tool. And there's a tremendous amount of work to be done to make those tools work for us and truly achieve what we all want, which is the best outcomes possible for our patients and the most efficiency for our healthcare system because we have such limited resources. And that's only going to become more and more evident over the next decade or two as our population continues to age. We have increasing healthcare needs. So we need efficiencies and we need intelligently designed tools. So I think it's an easy one to debate from the con side about all the things that are wrong with it. But in the big picture, everybody will know that, I'm trying to find solutions and I'm trying to work with vendors and other stakeholders in the health community and patients in particular to find what's going to work best in the long term. So
Yeah.
hopefully it doesn't all come across as negative.
No, I doubt that it will. I think it's just common sense that we need to use technology to advantage what is the next question, which is shared decision making. In my mind, and EMRs or electronic medical records, what we hear every day on the street, Tom, what comes into our inbox, what we see percolating away on social media when we really take a good listening session to social media, is people are pulling their hair out. Why doesn't Dr. A know what Dr. B is doing? What if healthcare, we know it's not portable, it's supposed to be able to travel with us seamlessly if we decide to move from British Columbia to Manitoba, but it doesn't. But electronic medical records has the ability to perhaps make that true in some ways. It won't change policies about what is provided province to province, but it could make more cohesive the dialogue that is happening in the background between healthcare professionals and the patient. So when we think about the electronic medical records and the potential for enhancement of shared decision making, we think about the theme of this year's annual meeting, which is confluence and collaboration at the forks. not quite sure what that means, but I know what the planners intend it to mean, is about coming together around shared decision making. And if you could, for our audience, Tom, in your own view, define shared decision making in healthcare, in arthritis care to be specific, if you like.
Sure. I mean, well, that's the context that I'm certainly used to working in and thinking in every day. You know, shared decision making is about collaboration, and that requires us to come together. And who is us? I think everybody quickly jumps to, oh, it's the physician and the patient, and that's first and foremost. That needs to be a very good working relationship, a clear understanding of each other's goals and perspectives, and then trying to find a way to work toward the best possible decision. Of course, you know, both perspectives have to be integrated and a good dialogue. But there's other people, I think, as well, and depending on the case, you know, there may be other healthcare providers who are involved, and shared decision making should involve them as well. And I've been involved in so many complicated cases, you know, interesting, complex cases of arthritis or autoimmune disease, where, you know, having a collaborative discussion among the physicians, the physiotherapist, the nurse practitioner, the pharmacist, and the patient, maybe not all in the same room at the same time, but trying to integrate that. And, you know, as rheumatologists, we are usually the ones who are kind of quarterbacking, if you will, or integrating that discussion and making sure that everyone is around the table and having good quality communication. Those are the discussions that really lead to the best possible decisions. I can't possibly know everything that we should be thinking about. Neither can the nephrologist or the respirologist, but together, if we're having a good conversation, I think we can share toward the best decision possible. And that's ultimately the goal. And then obviously reevaluating it as time goes on and see, was it actually the right thing to do?
Yeah, kind of a WhatsApp for medicine. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? It's a
absolutely.
room, digital room, if you will, where people can come together with these really high levels of expertise about my disease. Let's just say I live with rheumatoid arthritis, and then you can have that fulsome viewpoint discussion. How does it then get shared with me? You know, there's a lot of controversy, Tom, about availability of electronic medical records to the person. Okay, well, I happen to be one of those people who think, well, that's mine. That information's mine first and foremost. But there often provincially are, you know, firewalls, things I can get, things I can't get. You know, what's your view on that? How is that going to be addressed with EMRs and shared decision making in your view?
Yeah, so the electronification part is definitely necessary to make all of those things possible, and how we share the information among the care team with the patient and so on. I mean, that it's going to have to be done digitally because there's no other pragmatic way to be able to do it. But how it gets done is essential. And I think what you're when you're talking about some of the firewalling that happens, a lot of that is rooted in the longstanding concerns about privacy and
Right.
about risk, meaning loss of that information for either nefarious purposes or just, you know, unnecessary distribution. And that has really held us back. I think it's so important that we have privacy and it's so important that we have the security, but those just seem like the minimum basics. We should be able to work with that kind of a framework and still be able to share information quickly and easily so that it does get into your hands and your thought processes at the time that you need to weigh in on your healthcare. Um, we don't do a very good job right now of summarizing the medical record in a way that can be easily interpreted and taken in by the patient. And of course, every patient has a different background, different skill sets. And so, you know, that may need to be tailored to the individual. We haven't even begun to really figure out how best to do that. And that's one of the other barriers, I think, when it comes to sharing the medical record, because most of the things that are created in the medical record are designed to be shared, you know, among the physicians and allied health providers. But for sure, you should have access to it. For sure, you should be able to see it and ask questions about it. And then we just have to have, you know, a really good understanding of how we're going to have that conversation and how we're going to work that in, because obviously you'll have lots of questions.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you know, as people, as patients have evolved over time. They are more inquisitive. They want more control over the dialogue that's happening with you in clinic. So also goes the desire for that digital information. I mean, it's just a bit of a, in my view, a bit of a no-brainer. I want to see it all. If I don't understand it, I can sit down and do, look up some of the terminology in a thesaurus. I just sent a tweet today. Dr. John Cush had a piece in his room now about enthesitis. And I said, hey, great article if you're dealing with this type of thing, but sit down and make sure you have a thesaurus with you when you read the article. And I think that's kind of what you're getting at in terms of ability to comprehend what is in the medical record at the patient level. Um, I always ask you this question at the end of our chat, and that is about, what you've seen over the last year in your own research, in your colleagues' research around the world, specific to osteoarthritis. What's keeping you up all giddy at night thinking, oh, I can't wait to get back to, the lab tomorrow. But also at a broader level, I know there was a paper just published in the New England Journal of Medicine about CAR T therapy, which we often read or hear about at the public level, focused on cancer. But this paper is a very early study on the use of CAR T therapy in lupus, sclerosis, and I think one other type of autoimmune disease. So I want you to maybe take a second to comment on that, but also on that first piece, which is what's exciting you about OA research today?
Sure. Well, Cheryl, you know how much I love rheumatology, and the main reason for that, is just how much progress there's always being made. It's incredible the work that goes on, and I don't miss a conference because the year in review and what's happening right now is always changing, and there's a lot to keep up with, and that makes it exciting. And I think it gives us great hope. That's what we need in this world more than anything, is just hope that things are going to continue to improve. And so rheumatology is a wonderful field for that. Osteoarthritis is a, as we know, the most common arthritis in the world. It's starting to really get a lot of investment and a lot of energy re-injected back into it, and I think that's so important. But it's also yielding some great insights, and there have been a few studies that have been reported, big studies actually, focused from the cardiovascular literature, and we know that the risk of osteoarthritis and the risk of cardiovascular disease are very much intertwined and very linked. And so patients who are going on therapies to try to protect them from cardiovascular events is also showing protection against progression and even the risk of joint replacement surgeries in patients with osteoarthritis. Big studies, well-designed clinical trials, double-blinded, good methodology, these sorts of things. So there's some really important insights coming from that, and how we're starting to understand how joints fail and why they do. And surprise, surprise, it comes back to the immune system. So I'm really excited about that, and I think that the future looks quite bright for understanding how osteoarthritis works, coming up with new therapies, and then the hard work for us to do will be to figure out how best to use them, in whom and when, and how to get the best outcomes. So it's an exciting time.
Yeah.
In the broader scheme about rheumatology, yeah, so there's been some really interesting immunologic therapies that have been developed, and you referenced the study from Georg Schett's group out of Germany, looking at CAR T cell therapy, which is a therapy that's designed to try to get rid of bad cells. So it was developed for cancer to try to clear cancer cells, but it's a genetically engineered kind of cell type that goes in and clears those bad cells from your body. And the bad cells in lupus are the memory cells, the ones that hold that memory for autoimmunity. And so this is a really cool proof of concept that has been shown now by Dr. Schett's group, that if you use this kind of therapy to clear the memory B cells, or the lymphocytes that are really involved in causing and driving lupus activity, that these patients, even though there's a very small number of them, they can do extremely well. Their lupus improves, they're able to come off of other medications that they're using to control the lupus, and even out to 2 years, continuing to do really, really well. So, this is not a therapy that's going to be in a clinic anytime near you. It's still very early days, and there's lots of safety questions and stuff to figure out. But just for our understanding of how these diseases work and just immunology in general, it just continues to move forward at such an exciting pace. And so it's a great find and nice to see that come out in print.
Yeah, thank you for that overview. I mean, as a person who lives with an autoimmune disease, I'm always excited to see stuff come out in these journals, Tom, that to me is like turning the light switch off. So I know that's the promise of a CAR T type therapy. But in the short term, if such as in lupus, can spare use of prednisone, which is a real issue in lupus therapy, not just for you doctors who don't want to see someone on high doses for long term, even high doses for short term. For someone like me, we don't want to take it either, because we don't like the side effects. So a paper like that, as you said, hope springs eternal. I think we're just on the fringes of spring, so good timing for that paper to come out. And I guess something like that then we need to see evolve in larger numbers of people, more maybe a greater degree of specificity to a certain type of population that these things would treat. All very, very exciting. Tom, we've taken up lots of your time. We're so appreciative that you came into the studio again this year. It's always a pleasure seeing you. I can't wait to see you roaming the hallways and in the scientific sessions in Winnipeg. We're just a few days away from that. So again, thank you very much. You are just one of our favorites here at Arthritis Consumer Experts and in the broadcast booth. So we wish you well, and we hope you have a great meeting and good luck in the debate.
Oh, thank you. I'm looking forward to it. And again, thanks for everything that you're doing, Cheryl. Thanks for having me on. And
Yep,
it's inspiring to see what you guys are up to. So thanks again.
great. And thanks everyone for joining us. Tune in again to the next hashtag C Arthritis interview.